the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking some football, cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Yes, we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
All right, we are live. Welcome to a special edition, a draft recap edition of FinsTalk OverTime. I'm Bobby Melendez. That's my co-host, Bret Lagasse. Bret, what did you think? First off, how are you doing?
I'm good. Had an episode Friday dealing with some stuff. I feel better now. Got some rest, kind of, sort of. I'm dog sitting this weekend, so it didn't help. No, but doing a lot better, refreshed. Got to evaluate the draft a little bit about what we did and guys we signed. And I'm happy.
Let's start with that, man. So the draft, Miami, they only had 4 picks. There was talk of, the little chance of trading up. I know you gave 10% chance of Miami possibly trading up. Now, Chris Greer did say that he did try to trade up, not to first round, but he did. But there's just nobody wanted to give up any picks, or they wanted too many picks from next year, and he didn't want to give that up. But Miami sticks with their 4 picks. What's up, John, Chris, Ralph? Let's look at these 4 picks. I was there on the draft during the draft coverage, so people get my initial reaction. We'll talk about the follow-up of those. But let's go ahead and get your talk of the guy that you actually mocked for Miami at pick 102, round 3, Channing Tindall, Miami Dolphins linebacker now from Georgia. Let's go ahead and put that up on there. What did you think? First off, let's go with Channing Tindall. What did you think about him?
Hey, you got me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You got it there. Go ahead.
All right. So what I was saying, I love Channing Tindall. I had him mocked to us. I was actually one of Isaiah Spiller. I'm like, listen, Isaiah Spiller shouldn't be there at 102. I didn't mock him there. I wasn't expecting him to be there. So I'm like, look, if he's there, you got to take him. He fits. And he wasn't there, or they didn't take him. It's Channing Tindall. But as soon as I heard that, I'm like, hell, I've been stomping my feet for a linebacker for a while. Well, I like Roberts and his leadership, but he's basically a blitzing linebacker. He's downhill only kind of linebacker. But I really like his thumperness. But Tindall offers a wide variety of ability. He can blitz. He can rush the passer. He blitzes with a purpose. He's violent when he hits. And when he knows what he's seeing, man, does that athleticism show up. And it's crazy. No one's going to outrun him. My favorite thing to watch of him, which is going to be key for us using him, is quarterbacks try to outrun him and fail and turn the ball over. So he's forced, I think, 5 fumbles this year. He had, I think, 10.5 sacks this year, or 7.5. Don't have the stats in front of me. But he forced a lot of his numbers throughout his career were tackles for losses and sacks. And he has that versatility. I love his game. And he's exactly that missing piece that we need. It would have been nice if Nakobe Dean fell to us, but I'll take Channing Tindall. He's kind of the forgotten man in the Georgia defense, but that speed and athleticism is sorely missed on this defense. And I'm sick and tired of watching athletic quarterbacks just chew us up. And he's the kind of guy that I think, with a little bit of coaching, can be that true middle linebacker. Now, he will need coaching. The mental aspect needs to be developed more. It's probably hard to really focus on developing everybody at Georgia. But if you can develop that mental aspect to where he can learn his reads and know exactly what he's doing, I think he can be a stud middle linebacker in the league. But right off the bat, I think he's an athlete in space, and he neutralizes athletic quarterbacks. And we have 2 of them in our division right now, with Wilson and with Allen. And then you add Russell Wilson to this conference. There's a lot of athleticism there. Deshaun Watson. So, he's going to be huge. We face all those guys this year. So it's going to be huge to have him in that aspect.
Yeah, and just to read over those 2021 numbers for Channing Tindall. Let's see here. He had 35. He played 15 games in his senior year. 35 solo tackles, 32 assists, 67 total 7.5 of those were for losses, 5.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. So, I mean, and this is the thing too. That
I think
probably
I was looking at his career total. I think he had 5 forced fumbles in his career or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's where I was getting that number from.
12 sacks throughout his career, 108 total tackles. I will say this. I mean, that defense, people say, how did he fall if he's so dang good? That defense was legit. That was probably the greatest college defense, and and up there, was ranked up there.
As far as NFL talent goes, that's one of the best defenses I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not going to say it's as good as that Miami defense back in the day with Ed Reed and all them, but I mean, it could show to be close.
I mean, Travon Walker, you got to think about all the players that got drafted this year and where this guy falls. And I mean, he got lost in the shuffle. Now he should probably, I think he has a very strong chance to start. And for this Miami team with Jerome Baker, and I think it's huge. All right. So.
But I'm excited about his future. He was a guy I was excited about big time. Like, you saw me mock him to Miami, and that was why. And he's that missile we're missing. I don't have the list
in front of me, but in terms of linebackers that were available, I know we talked about Chad Muma out of Wyoming. JoJo was still there, but Chad got drafted. And then, of
Troy Anderson, we talked about him.
Absolutely, and they were here. So let me see here. Let's talk a little bit about what the national media thought of him. Let's go ahead here. Chris Trapasso, he gave the Dolphins a grade of B-. Speed, and more speed. A blur on the field, but very unpolished as a linebacker, not as a coverage type yet. That could be coached up. That's what Chris Trapasso said.
I love that he said yet. And I love Chris's analysis, by the way. He's always good.
Chad Reuter, B+. The Dolphins did not have a second-round pick after the Tyreek Hill trade. It sent their third-round selection to the Giants at a trade last year to move up for Liam Eichenberg. Eichenberg must become a good starter for that type of deal to tip in Miami's favor. They did receive a third-round pick, however, from Trey Lance. They spent that pick on Tadell, who fits a need as an inside linebacker with great speed. Let's see here. The Sporting News gives an A. Tindo's calling card was flat-out speed, combined with great range and finishing ability whenever getting a chance to produce in the Bulldogs' loaded national championship defense. He fills a big need for the defense and is a great value. And really, I see B+ is BA1C. Where's the C at? Let me go back up there because I want to keep it balanced.
Curious about that.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Bleacher Report, C+. Brent Sablaski. Good things happen for those who wait. Just ask Georgia's Channing Tindall. Tindall waited 3 years before he became a starter on the Bulldogs defense. He needed time to transition from a high school edge defender into a capable and reliable off-ball linebacker. Quote, I didn't know a lot about inside linebacker, end quote, Tindall told reporters in September. He continues, I just knew it was going to take me a little while to understand it. I didn't try to use it as an excuse to leave or anything like that. That was Channing Tindall. Once in the lineup, Tindall's sideline to sideline speed became a critical component to Georgia's run to the national championship. The 230-pound linebacker ran a 4.47 second 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. Tindall doesn't need to be in the starting lineup to impact the game, though. His energy can be beneficial as a sub-package defender or on special teams, where he excelled during his time in Athens. So even though it was a C+, I actually
rave reviews,
evaluation and analysis. Yeah. I think it's fair, and I think it's true. I mean, that's the thing. We treated this third-round pick as our first round pick because we didn't have a first-round pick. So people were everybody was caught up in their feelings, especially with the fourth-round pick that we got, the wide receiver, and we'll discuss that. But obviously you love this kid. So if you had to give a grade on this first pick for Miami, what would you give it?
B, because I still would have had Spiller higher. But and I'm not for addressing needs. However, impact players is my big takeaway from
that's
everything.
It right there.
And Tindall can be, I'm not saying he can be an impact player. That I love Bleacher Reports. Hats off to them for writing that. That is something that was overlooked. I didn't know that originally my evaluation until like 2 weeks ago of Tindall, that he was an edge rusher at first. And that's what took him a while to start, which is why Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean leapfrogged him in the starting lineup. He was learning a different position altogether. you see the edge rush ability in him blitzing from the linebacker position. So in a way, he's kind of like Lawrence Timmons, because Lawrence Timmons transitioned from edge rusher to off the ball linebacker, and that worked out really well in his career. He's a little more athletic, bigger, but like it's similar transition. So I absolutely love it. We've seen guys like Ahmad Brooks do this and play really well as a stand-up backer, and just Clay Matthews. I'm not trying to say he's going to be as good as these guys, but he can be a great off-the-ball backer. And the thing is, every year he got better. Look at his numbers alone. He got better. His film from sophomore, junior to senior year, everything was better. That means he's learning and taking what he's applying and learning. When I watched him at the Senior Bowl, he immediately took what was coached to him, and he was going out of his way to ask coaches questions. He took what they coached him and applied it, and I loved it. And his speed, he's legit. He's legit speed. That's not like, oh, he's just a freak in underwear. No, that speed's on tape. That speed was at the practice at Senior Bowl, and he has violent intentions, and that's something we've lacked on this defense, and that's why I'm gushing about it. And again, the real quick, the theme for the Dolphins offseason, speed, and I'm all about it, and I'm here for it, and I love it.
100%. And I love the reaction of Mike McDaniel. We link him as an offense. We compare him to we think of him as an offensive guy, obviously, because he's offensive coach. And I mean, no one was more happier in that room with a bigger smile for Channing Tindall than Mike McDaniel, if you were watching that back. So that could tell you what he had in that draft pick, and what he wants for his defense. That was exciting.
Legit excited that a linebacker was his first draft pick. As an offensive coach, he did not care if it wasn't an offensive guy.
And in all fairness, Chris Greer admitted that there was a running back that Mike McDaniel wanted, and that was taken in the third round. That made him fall off his chair. And I have to say, if we're not we're not putting names out there, but obviously the guy you think of is Isaiah Spiller, who went to the Chargers.
Same one that probably scared the people at Chick-fil-A yesterday. I was like, oh, come on. And I got a buddy that's a Chargers fan. I was like, your Chargers have got to stop taking my draft crushes, man.
I said the same thing. They're taking all our dudes, but that's okay.
Started with Derwin James, man. Come on.
That's right. Now,
but I absolutely love that pick.
I do too. It was a steal. But that's the thing. There's a lot of players that have potential to be steals in this draft, because there was even the number one overall pick. No one knew. Even people want to say Aiden Hutchinson because it wasn't popular, and he was playing like the number one pick through the college season. But
Kayvon Thibodeau was higher than him for me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, and it's just this whole draft was very weird. Now I thought it was gonna be a boring draft, Bret, and it ended up being one of the most exciting just because of trades and shocking picks and quarterbacks falling.
We did a pick 'em, like guess the pick right before the pick, before the pick's in. And all of us were like, oh, this is going to happen. This was going to happen. And when Washington traded down, the Saints got Olave, we're like, what is going on? They're coming up for Willis. No, they went for Olave. Like, oh, come on.
We are, Chris, I see your comment there. We are going to talk about undrafted free agents. But I will, since it's on here now, I'm going to let Bret bring this up if he has info on this gentleman. Tanner Connor from Idaho State, 4.37 40 time wide receiver, was an undrafted free agent signing for the Dolphins. Again, we will discuss that in all the undrafted free agents. But since you're asking right now, let's get that out there. We're going to talk about the fourth round, Evan, I promise. But let's go ahead and talk about Tanner very quick. What are you thinking about that kid, if you have any info on him?
Unique. Built like a fullback, probably will be moved around to an H-back role. I don't think he's going to be a receiver.
Interesting.
I think he's going to be moved around. I think McDaniel sees an opportunity with him. I saw someone compare him to Juszczyk, who they had out there in San Fran. I could definitely see that for sure. Apparently he's a smart guy, really intelligent. He's fast. He's explosive. He looks like when he runs, he's way more explosive than his frame would suggest. A little stiff in his routes, though, at the same time. Not very creative, doesn't really sell the routes very well. But I think a transition to either halfback or H-back or fullback or something along those lines would be perfect for him. At 223, he's built really well. I love to see how they can use him. And you see how McDaniel is his offense. He's already brought in 2 fullbacks, which tells me he wants to have competition there. He has Ingold, but Tanner Connor could be a guy that sits on the practice squad for a couple of years. until they find a role for him or for a year or two. But yeah, I'm excited what Tanner. I just want to see what they want to do with him. But I hope they develop him and he works out because that could be fun. Stuff like I love seeing stuff like that.
And he last year 42 receptions, 735 yards receiving, and 4 touchdowns. He had 39 yards rushing with 4 attempts. So
and he will hit you in the mouth when he blocks.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Big dude. Again, we only had 4 draft picks, but the draft class, I count that as the draft class as well on that side. And I'm very impressed with what Miami has done so far.
I did the undrafted free agents. I think they did a good job. There's a couple names on there that I'll talk about in a little bit that I was excited that were on the list. I got about 5 names I want to talk about there.
All right, let's move on to the 4th round. Eric Izukama. I'm butchering that.
The Izukama.
There you go, Izukama. All right, wide receiver. So this again, the Dolphins had 4 draft picks, but they surprised many with 2 of those picks. So we're gonna go ahead and stick with the 4th round here at 125 with the wide receiver. I remember I got a call from my stepfather Ralph, and I know he's watching, and he was like, when we talked, I was going to go, so man, look at this pick. And he was like, I know we got the wide receiver. And I said, hey, you know what? You can't have enough weapons on offense. And my thing for this pick, and he actually watched this kid. He watched some of the tape and the highlights, and afterwards he was very excited about this pick, and he should be, because this kid is a dual type of player, in my opinion. I didn't think Miami would. I mean, I thought wide receiver, and I talked about the draft night and on our prior shows. Wide receiver, defensive back. No one should sleep on this. Same thing with the running backs, because it was a possibility. Now of course, the kid out of I'm losing his name here. Calvin Austin was still available. I had a higher grade on him, Bret. But this is not taken away from Eric Izukanuma. This kid here, I mean, I know everybody wants to do the Debo thing, but let's talk about this kid just by himself. Last year, 705 receptions. 705 yards, 4 touchdowns, rushing at 138 with 2 touchdowns. He pairs well with players like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. He will be competing for the 4th receiver spot with Lynn Bowden and Preston. And he could help on special teams too. I think people don't look at that as well. The Dolphins have a deep draft class, or a deep receiver room right now, and that's, I think, what McDaniel wants. And Bret, if you remember, earlier in the offseason, I believe it was the ESPN report that said there was 2 conflicting reports. That Miami wanted to focus on rehauling that offensive line room, which was the obvious thing. And then there was a surprising one that said that Miami really wanted to rehaul the wide receiver room. And now, at the end of all this, especially with this draft pick of this kid, it looked like the ESPN report was right, because if you compare, offensive line hasn't really changed that much besides Terran Armstead and Connor Williams, where the receiver room, besides Jalen Waddle and Lynn Bowden and Preston, who's really on the fringes of a roster spot, has really changed. And I love the depth of the receiver room. I love what Miami's done, because somebody brought a good point, because a lot of people on Twitter after this pick were criticizing this pick. And I understand it. They treated it like their 2nd round pick, when really it was a 4th round pick. You got to think about value here and depth. And this kid here offers that, and playability as well. That last year, when a guy would go down, then Devontae Parker went down, Albert Wilson didn't play. It was Isaiah Ford who would be playing. Matt Collins. Right? These were practice squad 5, 6, 7 string receivers starting in games for Miami. This year, God forbid Tyreek goes down, you got Jalen Waddle and Cedric Wilson, and Lynn Bowden and Eric Ismail. You don't have that same issue now. I love what Miami's done with this wide receiver room. Why don't you tell us what you think about this pick and what you think about this kid?
So one of the guys I highly respect in evaluations is Ben Fennell. I believe he's an NFL Network researcher. Not sure 100% his title, but he's very good at pointing out players and stuff. And whenever he points out a name on Twitter, even if I have watched him, Tony Pollard's a good example. I had already watched Pollard, and I already saw, what I wanted from him. And he pointed out things I didn't really pay attention to, and it opened my eyes. So when he talks, I listen. And Izukumo is one of the guys he likes. Charles Davis gave Ben Fennell credit about him on after the pick. And when you see Izukumo, I see what he's talking about. He's got good size, 6'2", with about 210. He's thick. You can see that frame. He's explosive with the ball in his hands. Toughness. He's tough. He's hard to bring down. Kid broke his arm in the spring, played in the fall, dealt with a foot injury, and was still outrunning defenders. So there's some people say, well, he doesn't look all that fast. Well, it's because he was dealing with I don't know if it was a break in his foot, but he was dealing with a foot injury, and he was still outrunning people. The kid is tough. He's physical. He'll block. He will hit you in the mouth when he blocks. I love that. I love the fact that he goes up for the ball. He high points the ball really well. He knows how to box out and use his frame, which is another good thing to have. I think he puts Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden's roster spots on notice. I think he automatically comes in and gives them a push. Cedric Wilson, I would say it's probably comfortably in the third receiver spot, but I wouldn't say he's safe either. As far as that goes, I'd say if Izukumo plays well, he could push him out too. And, Wilson would have to go to the second or the fourth or fifth spot. And then what have I told you before? You have to play special teams, right? If you're not the top three receivers, even if sometimes a third, the fourth, fifth, and sixth wide receiver, if they keep that many, has to play special teams. They have to, because if they keep that spot, they're going to have to play special teams because they're not using offense enough. And Izukumo, they asked, I don't know who asked him in his interview. They asked him, does he have experience playing special teams? And he says it's largely on front lines, which is the basically covered specialist. So we can have him as a gunner, and he's got the speed to get down in a hurry. I compare him to Cordero Patterson. Not quite as explosive, not as fast, but the usage, how you can use him, the physicality. Cordero Patterson maybe now, he's still a little raw, but you can use him inside and out, and he's physical. And you can use him maybe as a running back. You use him on the jet sweeps. They use him a lot on jet sweeps at Texas Tech, which, by the way, Wes Walker's an alumni of Texas Tech who pounded the table for Texas Tech receiver, which was Izukumo. So Wes Walker wanted them. So that already tells you right there they had that camaraderie. And when your wide receiver coach wants them, that shows the dynamic of the front office and coaching staff. And Wes Walker was excited about him. So that shows you that Wes Walker has a plan for him. Mike McDaniel and Wes Walker have a plan for him together. So that's kind of exciting right there. So I think Walker saw what they did at San Fran with Debo and their receivers, not just Debo, like Ayuk and all them, how they developed them. And I think he's thinking, you know what, this is a guy I love. And Chris Greer said he was a guy that they had talked about before, and they felt that was a good spot to get him. And if they passed him up there, they couldn't come back up to get him. So it felt like that was a guy they really wanted. They felt that was a good spot. I wanted Calvin Austin because all the dude does is get open. And the last time, you hear about that at the Senior Bowl was Cooper Kupp, and Jordy Nelson. All those guys did it. The Senior Bowl is get open. Oh, look at that. Look at all they do in the NFL. So Calvin Austin's going to be a problem in this league, I think. But no, I like Izukumo. I like his fit for this offense. And the fact that he's a fourth-round pick, like you said before, look, if he's solid, good, and all he is like Devontae Parker level, it only costs a fourth-round pick for him. And as long as he has a role and is solid in that role, I think we did good. But I think he can develop a niche on the offense. I'm hoping for more, obviously. Always hope everybody's an all-pro. But, it's not realistic.
All right, let's look. Let's talk Ian Cummings. Let me read off what he said about Miami Dolphins' new wide receiver. Izukumo is a rare wide receiver with incredible dynamic potential. He's 6'2", 209 pounds with elite length and contact balance, great explosiveness and elusiveness, great hands and impressive authoritative traits at the catch point. He's a big receiver, but he plays even bigger in several phases. Moreover, while he has room to refine his route running, he shows potential there. Texas Tech wide receiver flashes fast feet, smooth hips, sinks, and amped up lower body movements ahead of his breaks. There are deep comebacks on tape where the receiver decelerates quickly, chops his feet, and sinks his hips well for his size. If he can be more consistent there, he can complete his NFL draft scouting report. He seems like a mid-round pick off the buzz, but I would take him much earlier. He's arguably a top 5 receiver for me in this class. And the NFL today, receivers don't necessarily need to be elite. Sorry, bumped off me there. Let's see. Top 5. Receivers don't necessarily need to be elite route runners. A larger emphasis is being placed on coaches and simply scheming playmakers open and getting them the ball. Seems like McDaniel there. He's electric with the ball in his hands and in the air. The veracity as a playmaker in all three ranges, combined with his elite physical makeup, grants him an astronomical ceiling. So very high praise from Ian Cummings on his report, his scouting report.
Character seems very high. He's very well spoken, and seems like a humble kid in his interview. And the one thing I loved, he bugged them for a hat, and he really loved the visit there. I think this is one of the ones that the chemistry was there. So whenever that happens, usually the guy is usually better than projected because everything fit nicely. And maybe that's one of these fits. Do you remember Quincy Enunwa from the Jets? Guy who had to retire because of his neck, I believe. Physical guy, like freak athlete. He's kind of like him. Is what the more I watch him, the more I kind of see that kind of player, just that physical toughness. But yeah, I love the fit wise here. Wasn't overly excited about the pick. Didn't hate the pick, but
no, it was a surprising pick. But like I said, and I told you before the show, and I'll say here now as we're watching. As we're airing here, is that 2 picks in this draft, in the draft class, the actual draft class, scream Mike McDaniel. And that is the 4th round pick, and that's the very last pick, which is Skylar Thompson, the quarterback. But before we get to Thompson, let's get the Cameron Good. The Dolphins doubled down on linebacker, get the Cal linebacker Cameron Good. What can you tell us about this kid?
He was one of the guys I mentioned about when we talked about linebacker / edge rusher. As a possible fit. He's a little bit of a tweener. So off the bat, I mean, when they draft him, I was like, okay, cool. We have depth on special teams, depth on defense, developmental guy, 7th round pick. Look, he develops into a stud. He did good. If he develops into a nothing but a special teamer, again, that's fine value at 7th round. Yep. But if he develops into like any type of defensive role, it's a win. But I think he's athletic. He's explosive. He's quick twitch. Plays a little bit of stiff ankles sometimes, so he could, or stiff hips. It just depends, which is usually him getting high. But he's lengthy. He's got explosiveness. He's a leader. I believe he was a captain for 3 of the 4 years. So, or all 4 years, I can't remember. Also, Ikuma was a captain too as a freshman. But yeah, so I with Connor Good, I mean, it's one of those ones that you just like. Hey, he's a depth player. He's fast. He fits the system where he can be a little versatile inside and out. If he doesn't really do much, it's 7th round picks, not really hurting much. But you have a guy you can develop on the practice squad, as a special teams player. Then you can move him around on defense, see where he fits. Is he going to be like a inside backer, outside backer? Kind of find a home for him. And you never know with these things. Like, I mean, Van Ginkel was a 5th round pick, and he's turned into a solid starter.
Exactly.
That's a home run hit. I mean, Van Ginkel already was a home run in the 5th round. Now, if his production as a 2nd or 3rd round pick, like, we could have done better. As a 5th round pick, it's fantastic. So if Good is anywhere near that, or just has a role as a pass rush specialist or something, it's a good pick. But I like taking guys like that in the 7th round. Guys that, hey, you know what? At worst, he can come in immediately and be a special teams player and develop depth, or maybe just be practice squad and develop into something. So I like taking linebackers and guys like that late, defensive backs, linebackers, those kind of guys you can develop later on.
Yeah, I think this guy has a potential to make a spot on the roster on the special teams of it right now. Again, if you put him on the practice squad, that's great. That's okay too. I mean, that's the type of value here in the 7th round. But I think he does have the potential to make the roster because he's a very good player. He did play great. He did play good in Cal, but he has the potential to make it and on special teams for Miami to contribute that way. Now, we're going to talk about the quarterback position. The Dolphins did draft a quarterback. That did surprise some. Not me. I talked about that. Skylar Thompson. Man, let me tell you.
I was all about Cole Kelly there. We're going to quit. If you told me we were going quarterback, I was like, oh, Cole Kelly's got to be it. But
Skylar Thompson, Kansas State. He was the final pick for Miami at 247, 6'2", 217 pounds. My initial thoughts on this guy, Bret, you reached out to me when the pick happened. I discussed my philosophy is you draft a quarterback every year until you get the right one. I mean, and it could be the 5th round, the 6th round, the 7th round, 1st, 2nd. I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
And at the 7th round, this is a player who, again, it's a 7th round pick. You could get a player here who can contribute on the roster, or you get a player here who goes on the practice squad. But talking about him, at least my initial thoughts on this kid, athletic quarterback, can make some plays. Didn't have flashy numbers when you look at the stats, but I like how I did see some things I watched him more after we made the pick. I don't like looking at highlights because highlights will just hype you up. You look at the tape. I did like what he did through progressions. I think he does good reading the field. And when he runs, I mean, I see him break through some tackles. This dude can truck you. I'm surprised too because he's not. I mean, he's decent size, but not huge. He's good. He's decent making the throw on the run. Can throw it pretty deep. Doesn't look bad throwing it far. He has some potential. Probably more likely, I'm going to say, I'm not going to reach here. I'm going to say as a long-term backup. But this pick to me, just like the 4th round pick, screams Mike McDaniel. This guy looks like he would fit Mike McDaniel's offense. What are your thoughts on Skylar Thompson and the drafting a quarterback in the 7th round?
I mean, my response is,
I know what you're going to say.
Quarterback competition.
Oh.
But I mean, like, they have to be ready because let's face it, Tua has injury history. Bridgewater has an injury history. Mike McDaniel knows what happens when a guy goes down, but he also knows what happens when you have a backup quarterback that knows your system and can run it well and keep you afloat. They had a couple guys in San Fran that can come in and do pretty good. But to be honest, yes, Evan, actually trusting the coaching staff. With this coaching staff, I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to. But with Skylar Thompson, he's the kind of guy you watch his tape like, oh my God, what were you thinking? Like, he's got that the risk it all mentality. But that can be fun because you see Mahomes with that. You see guys that like really succeeded with that. But then you see guys who really struggle with that at the same time. So I think they saw potential in him. His numbers are not great. His production was not great. He's oh, it's been fun to troll that. But
California.
Let's be honest. I mean, the kid's got some moxie to him, and the first thing Greer shows is leadership and his dedication. I mean, that's something that you want to see from a quarterback. He's got a decent arm. I mean, he knows how to make plays off platform. His arm is more than good enough to make the playoff platform. He's made some ridiculous throws. Like 1 minute, he's dropping it in the bucket between 3 defenders. You're like, man, that was beautiful. Then the next play, he's missing a wide open guy because his base isn't set and he's throwing it up over. His feet aren't lined up. So all that's correctable. What will he be eventually? I'm not sure, but I mean, the kind of kid he is, like, he was in tears, excited when he got drafted. Kid loves football. His teammates love him. He's a dude in the locker room. His teammates absolutely love him. And he'll fight to the very end. A couple times I watched him this year. He fought to the very end. And he took a couple shots and peeled himself up. And knowing he's in pain and still took the team down for the score. So that was really impressive, that kind of stuff, watching him do that stuff. But, I mean, I'm all for drafting quarterback. You draft one until you have one, and then you draft them continuously because then you have trade value. Or if your guy retires, you're not waiting 20 years for another one. You draft them until you have one, and then you just keep drafting. Like, because what's the worst that happens? Look, Bret Favre had how many quarterbacks under him? Mark Brunell, Derek Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
There's the list, Doug Peterson, I think. The list goes on of guys that played under Bret Favre, but they always had quarterbacks. Matt Hasselbeck, they traded these guys. They got picks for these guys. Those guys became starters. And, you do that, and then look at all the guys under Tom Brady. So they could do that. That's smart. So, but you keep drafting until you have one. And I like draft them. And this better not be the last one they draft. Like if Tua's not the answer, draft one next year. Unless Skylar Thompson somehow comes in and like lights it up, you're drafting one next year too. If Tua lights it up, you're drafting one next year too.
Kevin Clements, and Kevin, thank you for watching, man. Kevin, who's a good follow on Twitter as well, he says, I'm intrigued by Thompson. McDaniel may have a special scheme and package just geared for him. That's my point with the whole that this pick screams McDaniel. And I'm not sure if that was the case or not. But again, the way he plays, what I saw when I did look up when I looked up his tape, I mean, again, the pick screams McDaniel. He seems more of a dual threat, you know. I mean, you got to work on him a little bit. I'm not saying this kid's gonna come in and compete or anything like that. No, let's be realistic. And first of all, I love his passion. When I saw when he got that phone call as a 7th round pick at 247, and still tears in his eyes, excited to be a Miami Dolphin. That's the type of guy I love having on my team because I can give it his all. But
give me a guy that like wants to like balls to the wall out there all the time. Give me the guy who's athletic, who wants to throw the ball, who wants like, you know what, I'm going to throw an interception, but the next play I'm going to come right back to it. I'm going to come right back to that same play, the same route against that same look, but I'm going to adapt what I just did. I'm not going to be scared. And what Steve just said, like impressive his confidence. You can't coach those kind of things. I can't teach him how to have confidence. Even talking to guys who coach quarterbacks are saying like, yeah, this guy probably isn't it. This guy probably won't be an answer to quarterback. But you just love that confidence, and that can ooze. Someone who could ooze that kind of confidence, you never know what they can be. Like Tony Romo struggled his rookie year, and look what he became. So, but this is a Mike McDaniel pick. And 7th round, coaches sometimes a lot of times they get the way, hey, get to the 7th round, the GM feels like, hey, we feel pretty good where we're at. Is there somebody you're feeling or something, a position you're looking at? And, quarterback feels like, hey, I want a guy that I could develop at least as my backup or try to, and at least have a guy that, hey, if Tua goes down, I know I can make some plays with him. And if Tua is out for 6 weeks, hey, you know what? I can go 3-3 with him or 4-2, and I can keep us afloat and in the playoff race.
I will say this too, for me as well, with this pick, it kind of tells you, because again, the pick to me screams Tua McDaniel, that it shows you the type of quarterback McDaniel likes. And so if that time comes, if after this, which it shouldn't, right? Again, I always put that disclaimer out there because there's no reason. Type of offense, the way it's built on paper, center is still a need. J.C. Tretter's still out there. There's still players that Miami could get. But on paper, this offense looks 20 times better. And Tua should blow it out of the park. Home run. Right. But if he doesn't, there should be a blueprint of the type of quarterback we know McDaniel kind of likes. So,
and just to put that out there, it's athleticism, a guy who's not scared and confident. Height and weight is not really necessarily a thing, but it's athleticism, confidence, leadership. That's what they're looking for.
Absolutely. And Ralph, you're absolutely right. You can never have too many quarterbacks. The kid has heart. He's good with his legs, has the development, and you can place the backup for next season. And I think that's the case. So, but again, I'm going to say this is a blueprint. This is the type of player that he is looking for at quarterback. And if Tua can be the guy, that's great. But if next season, if we're going in there wondering who our quarterback is, or we're still have questions about Tua, we know the type of quarterback McDaniel will be looking for to fit his offense. So let's go ahead. That's our 4 draft picks. We can touch back base on those guys now. Of course, Channing Tindall would pick 102 in round 3. Round 4, the wide receiver, Eric Zukanuma. Butchering that last name, I'll learn it. 224, Cameron Good, the linebacker out of Cal, which Vince Tailgate has stated. I saw his comment that he liked a lot. I think I did too. I think this player has a chance to make the roster even on special teams. And then Skylar Thompson, the quarterback out of Kansas State, going to the Miami Dolphins. So let's go ahead. Now we're going to move on to undrafted free agents. For me, are maybe just as impressive. Makes the draft class more impressive. I'll say it like that. I was very impressed with the undrafted free agents. Let's go ahead and look over those names here. All right, as we pull this up. My goodness. Okay, so the 3 names, there's a lot of names that stick out to me, but the 3 names here that stick out. Callan Ditch, the offensive tackle at Arizona State, 6'7", 301 pounds. This dude had a projection of a 5th round, 4th round pick. The draft was so damn weird. A lot of guys fell out. I wish Miami would have got Donovan West, the center. And I was, but he went to
guaranteed $100,000 to him.
Yeah, they did. San Francisco picked him up. Saquonde White, running back out of South Carolina. That's another one.
I'm after him.
Sticks out to me. Pull this up here. I thought I had his numbers, and I apologize. But 6'2", 206 pounds from Cape Carroll. So a little reunion there. That's somebody I think that was, he had a projection of 5th to 6th round, and Miami got him as an undrafted. And then McKinley, the corner out of Oregon. That's another one that really sticks out. So Bret, we're looking at this list here. McKinley played with Javon Holland, and I think they're best friends.
Yeah.
And he's a very good corner in Oregon. Surprised that he had made it out of the draft without getting picked up. But Bret, what are you thinking about this undrafted free agent signing so far for Miami?
So I love the fact. I'll also start out with Deesh from Arizona State because they offered him like $100,000 guaranteed or something like that. Like I forgot what it was. They offered him a decent amount of money, guaranteed. It was quite a bit more than undrafted free agent gets. So I'm gonna say that he has a good chance of making this roster. Which obviously we need. We need. He's athletic, and a lot of times you can find an offensive lineman undrafted that sticks on your roster and becomes at least a solid starter. I like that. I like Zaquandre Wright or White. That's a hard name to say. From South Carolina. Now, he started out of Florida State, was a running back, and then they moved him to linebacker. And then he went to JUCO as a running back and then crushed it there. Goes to South Carolina and was still kind of playing both ways, not really given much chance of running back. And then his senior year finally paid off, and he played running back, and he did a really good job there at South Carolina. There were some times I'm watching the tape, I'm like, man, this is stuff like day one running back stuff. Like he didn't know how to set up his blocks. He didn't know like simple things like when to cut back. And then when he would do it, he'd excel at it. And then I found out that he had played linebacker and running back. So he's still learning the position, just like with Tyndall. So I want to see what they could do with him. I'm hoping that he shows up and sticks because I think he has potential because he has explosive cuts. When he gets in the open field, he can make a guy miss. He's got good power and strength. He's not afraid of contact. Obviously, he played linebacker too. So I like that. And then he also understands how linebackers are attacking him and angling on him. I do like the fact that we touch base on a punter. I do like the fact we brought in the young punter just to compete with our experienced punter because if Morstead's leg isn't quite having it, maybe we'll have this Heatherly can do that. I actually like special teams. I like having a good punter because if you don't really need one until you don't have one. But let's talk about McKinley. I mean, when I was watching, forgive me, I'm having a brain fart. Our safety that we just got last year. I'm having a brain fart. I watched him. I watched McKinley. He did really well at safety. And he played safety and corner, and I don't know why he was undrafted. I really don't get it. I don't know. Did he do something? I don't know. Like, did he do something they didn't like, or what's going on? Because him and Javon Holland played well off each other, seemed to communicate well. So this could be a steal. We had Nick Needham as a steal. You know what I mean? So is he the next defensive back steal? We know that how our coaching staff does with defensive backs. So I'm excited about that. That makes it exciting. Then you got Tanner Connor. We talked about him a little bit. What are they going to do with him? Exciting to see what they do there. But one of my favorites that not enough people are talking about is Braylon Sanders from Mississippi. Didn't have the production. Didn't really produce. But Mississippi has put out some receivers, and Sanders at the Senior Bowl looked the smoothest out of everybody. He looked like one of the most natural receivers there. And he had very, very confident in his hands, made a lot of one-handed grabs, just kind of showing off his ability. Smooth route runner, smooth in and out of his cuts. Not the fastest guy, but he gets open, and there's a chance that he could make this roster as an undrafted free agent. Maybe as a –
Really?
Yeah. Even with this wide receiver class. And I think he can play special teams, and I think there's a chance he makes it because he just understands certain nuances. But I just can't figure out why the production wasn't there. It seemed like they didn't – I don't know if the chemistry wasn't there for Coral or what, but Sanders I thought did pretty good. I thought he was a pretty good receiver. I definitely thought he was draftable. I didn't think he was going to go undrafted, so I like the fact that they brought him in. He looked really good at the Senior Bowl. And if not, I hope he makes the practice squad because someone else will pick him up. But, I mean, we picked up some other linemen, some more D-backs, which apparently that we need depth there too. So,
No, absolutely. Let me see if I make sure I got the right stuff here, because I do want to talk about another name, and I'm out of this list here as you're looking at it, and even everyone watching, man. Thank you for tuning in, Chris, Steve, Finn's Tailgate as always, Kevin, everybody. Thank you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we're gonna give you our new channel as well. That way you can watch past episodes and even live episodes as well, which is the FinsTalk Network. That's on YouTube. So find that, subscribe to it. We'll talk more about it later on. Okay, but another guy I want to talk about that I think that we have that might have a chance here is DeAndre Johnson, defensive end. Miami needed an edge rusher. They don't get edge rusher here in the draft. They got the 2 linebackers, but they may find somebody right here in DeAndre Johnson. And I hope I got the right numbers here in front of me. But this kid, Tennessee and Miami. Excuse me. I'll make sure I got this right. I think I do. Last season, 26 total tackles, 4.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble with the Hurricanes. Tennessee basically duplicate numbers in 2020. 28 total tackles, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Just numbers alone screams potential for me with this kid. You have anything on this kid that you want to talk about?
Well, I'm really not sure. I can't tell you why he went undrafted. Some of these guys don't make sense why they went undrafted. There's some names there that shouldn't have been, but this draft was kind of weird. Fun, but weird. I mean, he had a production. I mean, he had 4.5 sacks back-to-back years. Yeah, 8.5 tackles for loss, 6 tackles for a loss. I mean, the dude put up numbers. 24 total tackle for loss in his career, 14.5 career sacks. I mean, he really didn't. Tennessee's getting better, but he wasn't really on a powerhouse team either, so you figured he'd stand out. But, I mean, he has decent size. 6'3", 260, so he's built stout. But,
he has NFL pedigree. His dad is Andre Johnson, former wide receiver. So,
I don't know. Would they expect him to be more of an athlete? But, I mean, he's like his dad with his thick frame and toughness and physicality.
He can play outside linebacker. He switched 6'2", 6'3", 252 pounds. I'm looking at the numbers now because, again, when I saw his name pop up, I was surprised he made it out of the draft without getting picked up. I think this guy has a very strong chance to make the roster if he plays to his potential in the preseason and during the training camp. See here, I'm going to read some of this here. Special teams experience, nose for the ball, scheme diversity, assignment proof. He could play linebacker and defensive end. Below average speed, athleticism, tweener, some inconsistency when absent during periods of play, limited skill set at point of attack, will be older side of a rookie on the rookie age. So he may just not fit some teams.
I could care less about age.
I guess. No, I don't either. And I know even Skylar Thompson is up there in age. I think Evan made a joke earlier that
25, I think.
Tua.
Yeah. John Beck all over again.
Let me read this. I don't know who wrote this, but this was from State of the U from Miami University. Johnson did not do enough to increase his draft stock in 21 as his production pretty much leveled off as career progressed. Regardless, there are some respected draft scouts who have spoken highly of DeAndre. Senior Bowl director Jim Nagy says Johnson would be the first prospect he would draft from the college gridiron showcase. Johnson has strived through adversity from the high school incident and showed immense patience at Tennessee, earning his way to the starting lineup. That toughness and effort was obvious in his playstyle. However, he has physical limitations, will need to work his way onto a roster as a special teams first athlete. A lot of these players are going to have to get on there through special teams. But DeAndre Johnson surprised me when I saw his name hop up there because I did see, just on the brief time that I looked at him and looked up on him, I thought he would make a roster during the draft, but he has the potential to make it. And of course, Kellen Deach, I don't think that has anything. You don't have to say anything. That dude definitely has a chance to make the roster.
Blaze Andrews too from Minnesota, another one. I mean, obviously not all these guys are going to make the roster, right? No. But I mean, we're just looking at guys that have a possibility of making it, and the 6-7 names that we mentioned, I think will make it or have a good chance of making it. But let's be honest, everything we've seen so far, nobody's safe. They've shown that they're willing to churn this roster over. Devontae Parker, gone. Preston Williams only brought back on a 1-year deal, so we can pretty much say it's fair to say he's gone. If the right person, right team comes knocking, asking about Gesicki and offers the right thing, I think he could go. So I don't think anybody's really safe. They're looking to flip this roster. I know they ran it back with defense, but they're looking to improve no matter what. They know their weak points. And wide receiver is up for grabs. If let's say the two rookies ball out, let's say just for shits and giggles, Braylon Sanders and Izukama ball out. They have a decision maker. I don't think Lynn Bowden's safe. I don't think Preston Williams safe. They brought in guys that are special teams guys from San Fran.
That's the thing people have to realize too and remember. And I like Lynn Bowden a lot. I hope he's still there next season because I think he could fit great in this offense. But people have to remember because everybody was jumping on that. Oh, why do we need another wide receiver? Last year we didn't have enough wide receivers. I thought that was the dumbest thing on Twitter with a lot of people. Why are we drafting? We have so many receivers. Last year we couldn't even find a good starting receiver. Now we have 3. Plus we got the draft pick. And here's the other thing. And not even Jalen Waddle doesn't fit in here, but Lynn Bowden, Preston, and everyone else in between there at the end. Those aren't Mike McDaniel guys. He has no ties to them. So if he wants to get his roster, get it. You know what I mean?
And who's to say Cedric Wilson is even going to work out? I mean, we have free agent busts. We see him all over the league. It happens all the time. Cedric Wilson had one good year of production. So we got to pump the brakes. Look, he stepped up in Dallas and waited his turn, waited in the wings. He stepped up, did a good job. But Cedric Wilson was signed to be a role player. He was never signed to be like the guy either. When we got Tyreek, Cedric Wilson kind of has a role to play, but I mean, he's like a third, fourth receiver. He's not the second,
which
receiver.
Is in Miami right now. I mean, Tyreek and Jalen, third, fourth wide receiver, and in the Arizona there could be the third receiver come season or mid-season. So I love what Miami did. I have no real, of course, center was a huge need. Of course, Cole Strange went 29 to the Patriots. What the hell?
I talked about him at 102, not, I didn't talk about him at 29.
I had him going to Miami at 102. So, when he got picked up, I know a lot
of course he goes to New England.
I still think he's going to be a very good starter. But of course he goes to New England.
Of course.
But
damn it.
I mean,
and of course James Cook goes to Buffalo.
And poor kid. Did you see his face?
Yeah, he did not want to go to Buffalo.
He looked like he was crying. I hated that for him.
Look at me or you getting drafted to Buffalo.
Yeah. Or to the Jets. I mean,
oh God.
But hey, you know what? And we'll just do a quick recap of the draft because I have to say, for a terrible offseason as the Jets have had, they couldn't get Landebo, Tyreek, nothing. They couldn't do nothing. They did themselves a big favor with that draft. They had a very good draft.
They were aggressive in the draft, so they made themselves, hey, if not everybody works out, we did enough in this draft to where if we get 3 or 4 guys that pan out, we're good. We changed our team, and they did a good job. Sauce Gardner kind of scares me. He's either going to be really good or he's going to flame out. There's not a whole lot of in between with him, and but I think that coach staff's going to get him, and they were pumped about him.
They were.
Robert Saleh was really pumped about him, and then they got who else did they get? Garrett Wilson, absolutely love that for them. And then they got Jermaine Johnson again. That's 3 good players in the first round. That was good. I know I've been trolling the Jets that they had the worst draft, but it's fun. But the Jets had a really good draft. I had a Jets fan I talk to all the time, Brooks, and he's really happy. And it's the first time he probably has felt happy about a Jets draft in a while. So they're headed in the right direction.
Brett, I got a challenge for you. I'm reading these comments here, and Evan is having a Fields day, and we will have Evan on the show. I think I'm going to do something. I'm doing this. I'm working on a segment for our program, and this is for everybody. Everybody's involved. MC, I'm thanking you for the first time that you're watching. We like to get the whole community involved. Everybody, you want to be on the show, you message me, we'll get you on. But I want to do a segment called Friendly Fire, and I've been trying to work on this, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is have fans that disagree with each other. You have friendly fire. You talk about players.
Oh boy.
But
I know where this is going.
You know how Evan got love, and but let me put this on here. This is the first thing here.
Oh my God.
So this one right here, I will like the show, and if Bret, I know Evan loves the show. He's just messing around, but I will like the show when Bret says a positive thing about Tua. Just kidding, he wrote. But
hold on. I'll say something positive. That video his trainer posted. that ball is starting to zip out of his hands a little bit more now. That zip is coming back a little bit. So I will say something positive. I did like seeing that. The ball's coming out of his hand a little bit better, and I like it. See, I'm positive.
Hey, you know what? It's about the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the Dolphins winning games. And no player is safe from criticism. I don't think there's too much hate or negative on anybody. I mean, there are some people, I'm not going to name names on Twitter, that I just see they love to stir the pot. You fall in that too. I will say that. You're here. I will say you like.
But I'm not the ringleader of that. But yeah, I fall in that.
No, I know you're not.
Just stir that pot up.
But
just get people going.
I'm not. There's Tua stands. There's Tua haters. I hope by the end of the season, everyone's in the same page. Whether it's like, hey, move on, or hey, this dude is the guy, because it's about winning football games. I'm not about mediocrity. You know.
Hey, my guy Finston said it right. He would much rather have Tua be the guy come 2023. That'd be the easiest thing. If Tua is the guy we thought he was going to be next year, it's so much easier for me to say, dude, I was wrong. I was way off. Holy hell, he proved me wrong. Now we have our quarterback, and next year's picks, use them how you see fit. Let's roll.
Another star player. And
right.
The Dolphins are right now in a win-win situation.
Yeah.
If Tua and win-win, whatever. The Dolphins have a good roster, stars, both ends. They won the offseason. To me, legitimately, the team is a quarterback away from being a legit contender. Can Tua grow quarterback
can be? Tua can be that quarterback. He can be that answer.
Is he that now? That's up to him this season to prove that. But if, let's say, he proves that to be true, Dolphins have 2 first-round picks to use them as whatever they want to do. Trade them, get more picks, go trade for a superstar running back or a superstar linebacker, defensive, whatever. Next season, they can do that. Or if he's not the guy, you got 2 first-round picks, you go draft your guy or go trade for a veteran. I know, and that's the other thing, too. I know on the draft, we were talking about that. If he's not the guy, would you rather get a veteran or a draft pick? It depends on the draft pick, situation, and on the quarterback. I mean, I'm not going to get just random, because if you would have asked me, which I had said, I mean, I'm not going to keep spitting the same stuff, but there was players in that quarterbacks in that draft class. There was a quarterback, and Joe Burrow wasn't there because Joe Burrow was going number 1, and Miami tried to trade up to number 1. They didn't do it. They couldn't get it done. There was another quarterback who got drafted, picked later. You go back to all my past shows. That's the one I wanted, but I was very happy we got to it because I want to trust the process. You trust the guy, and I support to it because he's our quarterback. But if he can't be the guy going forward, then that's okay. We're all right. If he is, then great. We all win.
Exactly. And
California says he's our weakest link. Hey, you know what?
For now,
he could prove after all the work he's done, all the work this offseason. He did what he needed to do. The team did what they needed to do. They got him weapons. They got him an offensive line. They still need to go for a center unless they trust either, which I trust our offensive line coach and our coaching staff. If they did enough this offseason to give him the offense he needs to succeed. If he can't succeed, then that's it. But but you can't say the jury's out because, the jury's out. You can't say it's a sold thing here. Tua has help now and a real offensive coaching staff. Support the kid. He's a winner. In college, he's a winner. Yes. Bret, as his motivation coach, will make him a Pro Bowler. Oh, he's saying that he should be
You're probably right. I got what he's saying. If I was a motivation coach, I could make him a Pro Bowler. He's got to take a little hard criticism.
If Tua is not the guy, I will play the Dennis Green video. He is not who we thought he was.
I'll say he is who I thought he was. And we drafted him anyway.
That's right. California. Okay. John Santos, I'm going to answer that question if we move on here. I see California. Basically, everyone else will elevate him, not the other way around. I agree with that. I think it's the quarterback that should be, but that's what it has to be the turnaround here. It's the reverse.
But is that enough? Is that enough to say, hey, we got our guy? Because it seemed like the Rams were golf was being lifted. And
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I agree. I think that's still. If we look what the Rams did, they had Jared Goff, and he did decent. He wasn't great, wasn't good. He was decent with that roster. And what did they do? They traded for Matt Stafford, and they won the Super Bowl. Yeah. And then you look at people will talk about offensive line. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals with a terrible offensive line. They were right behind Miami, right in front of Miami. Miami, I think 32. I don't know what it was, but it was a Super Bowl. It was the offensive line that cost them the Super Bowl, but they still went
Yeah.
to the Super Bowl with superb quarterback play. The only thing I could give them over Miami was their running game.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. John Santos, as we move on here. Bobby, how many wide receivers do you think we keep? I'm thinking 6. Well, you got to go. I think you're right. Let's go to name those 6. Obviously, Tyreek, Jalen, Cedric Wilson, our rookie draft pick, Lynn Bowden. That's 5. I don't have the roster in front of me, but 5 for sure.
Easy is going to have to. I'm calling it Easy for sure. I played with a kid named Easy in high school. He has to make the roster as a 4th-round pick. He's not going to be more than likely he's not going to be cut or traded.
So we got 5 guys there. I can't say Preston Williams. I just don't know if he'll make this roster based off his health. There has to be.
Well, you got to look at who's that kid? What's the kid's name they brought in from San Fran?
There you go. Oh, that one too. Let me go up here. Let me look at here for a second. I'm sorry. I had that in front of me and I took it off.
It's a good question because I played with that in my head. Like, where am I going to go? Like, if I'm the Dolphins right now, who am I keeping at wide receiver? And you have to play special teams if you're not a 3rd receiver. So,
100%.
Trent Sherfield.
Let's see here.
Devonta Dedmon.
That's the guy we got from San Francisco, Sherfield.
Yep. Devonta Dedmon, River Craycraft, Cody Core.
Special teams. He was a return man in Canada. I think the one who broke all the records there. So that is a strong possibility.
Dedmon can make it because we don't really have a whole lot of returners other than Holland and Hill, who wants to return punts, but we're not going to leave him back there.
I hate the way they have this built.
You know what? Based off of that, I'll tell you what. I think 6 because you have to keep Waddle and Tyreek, right? They're going to be in the field together a lot. Wilson, you didn't sign him to sit, and he has a role as a 3rd, 4th. Izukoma will probably be on there too. Him and Wilson kind of switch roles. But here's where things get a little interesting. I think guys like Bowden, unless he shows return ability, could be traded or cut, and they keep Dedmon and Sherfield.
Sherfield, the only thing with Sherfield has going for him is that he played with Wes Welker and McDaniel. Right. So he has a very strong chance. And I think you're right with Lynn Bowden. Now, if you're telling me right now, looking at it, who I would keep, Tyreek, Jalen, Cedric, Eric, Lynn Bowden, that's 5. And then Dedmon has so much potential, and we need a return man. Mm-hmm. And what he did in Canada was off the charts. I would put him there. However, Trent Sherfield has a very strong chance in Cracraft. However, I don't know. I think he's more of a practice squad. I think Trent Sherfield. It's either between him or.
See, but now you're saying Izukoma and Trent Sherfield are playing the same position in that sense, right? But except Izukama can offer me play on offense. So it depends on camp. But I'm saying 5 to 6. But I'm saying probably about 6. Because I think you're going to need a returner. You're going to need special teams coverage. You're going to need guys that could play. And Bowden might squeeze in to make the team. But Easy as a draft pick is probably going to make the team. Tariq, Waddle, Wilson, Easy, Bowden. There's 5 off the bat. And then you're going to have, Dedmon or Sherfield? So it just depends on how they perform. If Dedmon shows his return ability in training camp and preseason, then, obviously he's going to make the team. But that's going to be the kicker there. By the way, the Dolphins have Easy Kuma listed as 220. Lion season already begins. So. No, that's how I kind of see it. Actually, Wilson can return kicks, can he?
That I'm not sure. Cedric Wilson I haven't seen, but Lynn Bowden. I mean, the thing that Lynn Bowden offers
returns punts
is that he fits the McDaniel type of receiver or playmaker,
right?
And again, everybody wants to throw Debo's name out there, but I'll just say again, it's just multi-threat player, like the quarterback, like Azuma. They're multi-threat players, and that's why I think it's, unless he is traded, which could happen, Bowden fits this. He does fit the offense, but Sherfield fits McDaniel, so it's hard to pass him up. So I'd say 5 or 6. And thanks for the question. That was awesome.
It's definitely the position I think we're going to be watching the most because it's the one they revamped the most out of every position, even more than the offensive line. So it's definitely going to be something we're watching. And I'm excited to kind of find out what happens. Curious.
Me too. But so overall, let's see. We were talking about receiver. We'll pull this list back up here, and then we'll go ahead and close this out.
Yep.
For this cool Sunday edition. I'm glad everybody's tuning in, and I'm sure. And I would like to know, guys, in the comments, put in what grade would you give the Dolphins draft class, and that also includes not just the draft class, the 4 picks, but also undrafted free agency. And for me, I'm giving C plus because I thought center was a bigger need than. But I'm going to give C plus because just to be fair, what was it, Bret?
You know what? I'm going to be a little friendly. I'm going to give them B. Just because I know they didn't draft center or address center, but I feel like you can still sign one because Treader is still available, and I feel like Dieter's still fine if they go with Dieter. If they get the right tackle situation figured out, they'll be fine. They didn't reach for nothing. Izukama, I kind of would say could be a reach there. They didn't have a 5th round pick. They tried to trade up, and it didn't overpay, which is fine. They're probably offering players that nobody wanted. They're probably trying to throw stuff in there. I like the direction they were going. A lot of these guys were captains. A lot of these guys were leaders. Actually, every single one of them was a leader. Tyndall, I think, might have been the only one they drafted that wasn't a captain. But Tyndall every year has shown the ability to get better and better, and that's what I love to see. So I like the fact that they drafted athletes, explosive guys. All 4 guys have some type of athletic ability, and I love to see that. They have a theme this year, and I love it.
So let me pull this up. Undrafted free agents here. C plus John Santos. I think A for Evan. I thought I saw B. We need a center. Sorry guys, I have something pulled up here.
And they went and got a couple guys like McKinley in there, and then Zaquandre White. I would like to see them drafted a running back though.
California B minus, Kevin Clements B plus. Thank you all for watching, and Steve always watches, man. He's awesome. B, MC B need a center. I agree with you. I said C plus, and that's not a negative. I'm not trying to be negative about it. What I'm just saying is, again, there were some needs there, and I'm not naive to that. Now I'm very happy with the draft. I am.
Right.
I like the potential guys.
Where did Donovan West go?
He went to San Francisco.
What pick? Undrafted free agent. Yeah. See, I would have been fine. I know we took a quarterback, but I would have been fine because we could have signed Cole Kelly and drafted Donovan West and made sure you got him. But that's okay.
Kevin's right. I think center gets a draft. I think so too. I think JC Treader is still a possibility. And I think, or maybe a surprise name there. I'm not sure. John says C plus.
Still can trade for a center too. Raiders could be moving on for Roddy Hudson.
Yeah.
Think about that. They just drafted Dylan Parham, right?
Calvin says B minus. Thank you for tuning in, Calvin. Treader has bad knees. That could be the case.
That might be why he's been out for so long.
Yeah, and so again, there's another player on there.
And we didn't go at the running back, but the Raiders drafted a running back, and we could look into Jacobs. So soon Bob would be more negative than Bret.
I don't say it's negative. And I told you that before. It's not
just
negative.
Realist, man.
It's just being realistic. I don't get blinded there. Treader wants $13 million. I didn't see that. We offered $7 million. I didn't see that.
That's true. Then he can stay.
I apologize, my man. Let me see. That's 2 questions. Let me see. Are you willing to pay JC Treader a fully guaranteed contract that he's asking for?
Nah, it depends on what he's asking.
No.
Depends. But I mean, I'd look at him, or I think the Raiders still have Roddy Hudson. I'd look and see if he's going to be available now. They drafted Dylan Parham, which I think Parham could start right away at center. So it just depends. But I'd see what's out there. Let's see.
What are your comparisons for Channing Tindall? My comparison is Sean Merriman.
What? Sean Merriman, huh?
Do you have a comparison to Channing Tindall?
Man, I don't really have a full comparison. I saw somebody compared him to Cody Barton, which I understood with the athleticism. But maybe more Anthony Barr than Sean Merriman. I see what you're saying with Sean Merriman, especially the violence. I'd say, Anthony Barr, maybe more faster than him, but like he's got the length, he's got like decent size, but he's more of an off-ball linebacker. Like I have mentioned Lawrence Timmons before, where I thought Lawrence Timmons, like that transition from a little bit undersized to be a defensive end, but has crazy athleticism, can play linebacker. So yeah, I'd say a mix of those two.
Bobby's all the time trying to talk things into happening. I talked the Dolphins into going to the Super Bowl. And you know what, Chris?
We'll win a Super Bowl, baby. Let's go.
Says that too. And what prove I'm usually proven right. So
let's go then.
What was it, Chris? What was I saying during the draft that Chris is talking about? During the draft coverage. Oh, I was saying with our luck as Dolphin fans, waiting 4 hours for the Dolphins to finally pick, and then they trade the pick 102 and they trade out. And Chris was pissed coming at me in chat.
Wait, don't say that. Don't say that.
Yeah, Chris was pissed.
Although I was scared because I was tired of the draft to be over that night.
Yeah, Miami's gonna trade. I know, I said it, and they didn't. So I'm not trying to talk anything to reality. Maybe I'm talking it so it doesn't come true. Evan wants you and Bret. Evan wants you and him to attend the luau next year for Tua. We should have a very exciting season, Jeff. I think so too. All jokes and everything aside, I mean, there's no reason why this team can't be there.
So much speed on both sides of the ball, man. I'm ready for it.
I know people are excited about the roster. I'm more excited about the coaching staff, what they're going to do. And I had questions on this coaching staff. Everybody was hyped on McDaniel. I wanted a veteran. I just didn't think about how he would put a staff together. And so far, the staff, I will always bring up everything. Chris,
he's got checks and balances for the staff, dude.
But this staff,
he's got checks and balances on this staff. He's got veteran coaches with inexperienced coaches.
Yeah.
And when one gets hired off, he has another one to step up in place. I love it.
Yeah. I think I'm more excited about this staff and what they're going to do with players like Austin Jackson and Eichenberg and Tua and Gesicki with Embry, John Embry, the tight ends coach, Wes Welker with the wide receivers. I mean, this staff I'm more excited about. I don't think they're getting enough hype. I know we're talking about McDaniel a lot, but I'm talking about in general the staff. I'm very excited about.
I'm looking forward to the run game, the quarterback coach, Darrell Bevel, Frank Smith. I'm looking forward to all of it.
It's gonna be a fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun this year. And again, in general, the whole draft class. They did get Kellen Deach, offensive lineman tackle. I think he does make the roster as in depth wise, and he may have a chance to be a starter. This dude's projected to go to the 4th round. But C+ is my thing. B for Bret and everyone who's tuned in. Man, we appreciate you guys. Coach Lem is a sleeper coach, absolutely. Evan, Chris, Jeff, John, Andy, California. Kevin, again, like I said, you know, a lot of these guys I see on Twitter. Steve is always awesome. Steve is always watching. I appreciate Steve Mallory. They're all on Twitter. Kevin is a great follow too. MC, I see you there. Everyone, Ralph, James. Sorry if I missed anybody, but as always, thank you for tuning in. This is FinsTalk Overtime. This is Bret Lagasse. Follow him on Twitter at Bret Lagasse67. He loves to chat with people and to debate all day long.
Stirring the pot.
No ways whatsoever. That's it. Stirs the pot. You follow me at Bobby FinsTalk. Follow the show at FinsTalk today. And of course, hit that like and subscribe button there. And go on YouTube, search up, if you do me a favor, check out the FinsTalk Network. I'm going to start posting all our past episodes on there and start airing our live ones as well. Check that out and hit that subscribe button. As always, guys, fins up. It's only going to get better from here. Let's keep it going. See you guys next time.